hard to fathom seeing something like this in person. Now imagine people who live there. They've seen it twice now in 2 days. Severe weather sweeps our region. We have team coverage tonight. Good evening. I'm Jessica Ralston, live in Charleston.
And I'm Tim here, live in Martha, Kentucky, where the scene is a lot of damage right now, unfortunately. Too many people have seen too much destruction, and we're going to spend the next half hour or so recapping just some of the damage that we've seen ourselves.
Yes, we do know that lives have been lost. It is a devastating situation. We're going to begin tonight live our team coverage with Chief Meteorologist Tony Cavalier. He has been tracking the storm since the very beginning out of our Huntington Weather Center. Tony?
Our main concern overnight would be for some leftover high water. So let me take you to our HD Doppler radar. And what you're going to see is heavy rains have moved away from the region. And as they move on, these rains will move into the Old Dominion of Virginia, and left behind will be just some scattered lighter showers. Now there can still be a rumble of thunder, don't get me wrong, but Canal Valley down the West Virginia Turnpike and into the mountains up 79, still some leftover showers and a rumble of thunder, but clearly the heavy rains are moving on, and as they move on, the threat of high water is also going by the wayside. I do want to mention that we look ahead to our forecast for tomorrow, and things will be improving. As you plan your day, we'll start out 45 to 50 with a leftover shower on radar. Otherwise, a partly cloudy, windy, and it's chillier. The temperature will actually inch down a couple of degrees during the day, and we'll wind up at 45 by the end of the day. Weather headlines then, looking ahead to tomorrow, the March line will roar. We'll have strong winds from the west at up to 25 miles an hour that will dry things out and make it chillier. All that water as it pools off of hills will create some black ice issues late Saturday night and Sunday morning. And there's actually the opportunity Sunday night into Monday morning for a coating of snow across our area. E-pictures coming in, Regina, Bennington over in West Union, Adams County. This is a tornado worthy of the Midwest. Strong tornado moving through Adams County earlier. And also that funnel cloud that moved through parts of the Minford area, Scioto County. Ashley Hamilton caught this with her digital lens. Bottom line, the threat of tornadoes has ended. What's left behind is the destruction and also the leftover high water. If you're out overnight, be very careful. A lot of police will not have been able to get high water barricades up, particularly in the coal fields. We'll keep you posted through the newscast.
All right, thanks very much, Tony. And you know, the destruction and the damage, it just depends on where those twisters touch down. Now, of course, there's a lot of confirmation that's needed on some of the different twisters that touch down. One area that was hit very hard was West Liberty, Kentucky. West Liberty, unfortunately, saw some damage the other day. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But right now, we're going to bring in photojournalist Grover Tadlock, who made his way down through the devastation and the destruction, and then made his way back to the newsroom, where he's here to talk about what he saw.
Tim, that's right. I've been doing this for about 28 years now and covering storms in a lot of different towns in our area. But when I rolled into West Liberty, I could not believe what I saw. A lot of times we use the term towns being turned upside down, but in the case of West Liberty, you can't tell where the town begins or where the town ends. Let's take a look at some video that I shot earlier tonight. The tops of buildings literally blown off. The tops are now sitting in the middle of downtown. People have been trapped inside buildings, in homes, in businesses. A lot of people are injured. They haven't not found everyone as of yet. They are trying to get to those that are still trapped and those that are missing. Cars were obviously tossed back and forth across town. People are in shock. They can't believe that this has happened to their town. The look on their face is just devastating. They can't believe that. They said this is like something that would come out of a movie instead of what happened in their own backyard. A lot of them were telling stories of seeing funnel cloud approaching. They only had a second to respond, and they were getting under tables. At 5 o'clock tonight, Tony actually gave us a demonstration of getting under tables or a solid counter. A lot of people must have seen that because they were saying they did exactly that. They rushed for cover. They got under tables. They got under countertops. People walking in a daze, as you see there. People, they don't know where to go. They have been setting up shelters for people, treating those that are injured. Those that do have minor injuries were taken away from downtown to a local dentist office where they set up a temporary shelter for those. Emergency workers are still looking for those that are possibly trapped under the rubble, in their homes, and in businesses. I talked to some people tonight, and they have some amazing stories of seeing what came and what happened to their town. Let's take a listen.
We saw the funnel forming right over top of the house. Yeah, we saw it. I mean, the sirens never went off or nothing. I mean, it just happened.
We was out on the front porch and it took us 2 seconds before it hit.
There's still people missing, people trapped. It hit here, but it also hit a couple places out in the county too. So right now we don't know the full extent.
We were standing outside the door and there was a big funnel cloud that was behind us, and we turned around and all we heard is they grabbed us so us to get under the table, and when we turned around, before we know it, everything was gone.
All the power is out in downtown Liberty, all the phones, there is no communication. The only lights that downtown Liberty has are those of the emergency vehicles that are in downtown right now. Tim, it's going to take a long time for West Liberty to rebuild and a long time for it to heal after this.
All right, thanks very much, Grover. And the scene that folks saw in West Liberty, what they witnessed, the devastation and that storm and the terrifying moments that happened, unfortunately, this is the second time in just a few days folks in West Liberty had to go through this. As a matter of fact, we have some video that we can show you from just the other day. It was on Wednesday when that storm came through with devastating winds. In fact, the National Weather Service reported some of those winds were up to 120 miles per hour that made their way through West Liberty just the other day. As we mentioned, they're just cleaning up from this storm on Wednesday. We reported that yesterday. We showed some of the cleanup. We talked about what people were going through from Wednesday's storm. And then this happened today. Once again, another devastating storm, perhaps worse than the other, especially when you consider that 2 people were killed in that storm. Now, here in Martha, Kentucky, where I'm standing right now, unfortunately, there has been some damage as well. Some of the damage is just being looked at this evening for the first time by some of the neighbors who are here. As a matter of fact, we tried to look at tried to talk to some of the folks who are behind us right now who own this particular farm and this house. You can see my shadow on a tree that's probably about 100 years old. That's one of about now we went over there with some flashlights and looked. That's probably one of about 2 or 3 large, huge trees, maybe about 100 years old on this old farm that came down, just broken down like toys. Now over here, Jared, if you can move over here with the camera and get a scene over at where the barn is over there. On that side of the barn, on the other side of the barn, is one more barn roof. A barn roof was taken off, the one barn, taken over to the other side and tossed around, as we said, just like a toy. Now, luckily, it doesn't look like anybody was home at the time. As a matter of fact, we have one of the neighbors who's going to step in and talk to us. Rodney King lives just up the street, about a half mile up the road. Tell me what you saw on your way back home tonight.
Well, I left Jackson and was headed home, and it started raining pretty good about the time I got on 205. But when I got into West Liberty, it had already come through, and there was a lot of buildings and stuff tore down. They were turning people back away. So I headed back down through the parkway. When I got down to the parkway towards Sayersville, there's a lot of ice come down. When I got into Sayersville, it had hit there.
Those hailstones were hitting your
Yeah, they was
truck,
about
right?
as big as your fist. I mean, they were really big, and they'd covered the road up about 6 inches deep in some parts.
How worried were you when you saw that coming down? When you saw the hail, you know what's next. How worried were you?
I was real worried. I was trying to get away from it as fast as I could. But all I wanted to do was get home. I had my wife and my kids here, and I talked to them before all the lines went down and told them to get in the middle of the house as it was coming through. And then I got to Sayersville, and trees were everywhere, and there was some people trapped in the car on the bridge there as you get on the Mountain Parkway in Sayersville, and they had got out all right, just kind of cut up. Headed back down through Sayersville and went through 30, and it was pretty clear. But when I got back through, thought I could go down through by McDonald's, there was just buildings and stuff that were just tore completely apart and completely down. They was tore plumb to the ground.
You were happy to get home. You said by the time you got home, you noticed there was a little bit of damage to your house, but not what you may have expected.
No, it tore the biggest part of my roof off of my barn. Part of my carport fell down. A neighbor helped me kind of get it propped back up till I can assess the damages, and then my back porch was about tore off. But other than that, I just thankful my wife and kids was all right, that I was able to get home and they was all right. Because after I seen what happened to West Liberty and Sayersville, all I could think about was that something like that's happened to my house. And then I drive by, and this is the first place before you get to mine, and then I was real worried, but I just thank God that everybody's all right. And
thank you, Rodney.
I really, really do.
Appreciate your time. Thank you, sir.
Right, no
I appreciate it. That's Rodney King, a neighbor who's just up the street here in Martha, Kentucky, where we see the damage behind us. And once again, we continue to see as we drive through. We didn't see a lot of damage as we made our way until this point. This is when it started to kick in. And over the ridge from here is where it really gets bad, and where actually some of the areas are impassable, Jessica.